Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I don't think I've ever been introduced as something a little bit different before, but I'll talk about what our advantages are for being different. So we have the Tullabung Tin Project at Sky Metals, and it's right in the middle of New South Wales. It's near Cobar, long-standing mining district, and we really have a perfect deposit for the perfect technology, and a very straightforward deposit here where we think we can have the opportunity for a low-cost tin operation. And for those of you unfamiliar with tin, it's a very important metal in the electrification and particularly in computing. Tin is used in electronics. It's used as a solder and it holds all electronics together. So absolutely vital in today's economy. Quick disclaimer there. Just to have a look at the board. Running Sky, Norm Seckold is our chairman. He's had a number of successes for a very, very long time, and most recently he's the chairman of Nickel Industries and Alpha HPA. We've got Richard Hill and Remus Karitis, who they were, amongst other things, founding directors of Aurelia, which is actually, they started the Hera mine, which actually isn't too far from our Tullabung Tin project, and one of the more recent mines to go into production in New South Wales. So they're very experienced in taking explorers through into production and becoming producing mining companies. At the moment, we're about sort of $15 million market cap, no debt, a bit of cash on hand, and quite a tight share register as well. So looking at tin itself, this is a graph from the Macquarie Strategy Group here, and just looking at a few key uses of tin. So we have, looking at particularly the increase in demand driven by solar in this energy transition, also in automotive and semiconductors. We can see that about 1,000 tonne of tin, just for context, about 1,000 tonne of tin is used per day. And just with these three applications that tin's used in, we're looking at about a third of an increase in demand in tin production. So very heavily exposed to the energy transition, electrification and AI, and there's a growing demand for tin in the world. The tin price itself is inelastic. If you're on your phone right now, there's about a gram of tin in your phone. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you multiply that by the billions of phones around and you start getting some big numbers. Then there's quite a lot more in your computer, and then there's up to about half a kilo in your car. So quite a lot of tin, ubiquitous throughout technology, but because a small amount of tin is used in everything, it doesn't increase the price of your phone if the tin price goes to $100,000 a tonne. It means that people still have to buy tin. That's what you use for a solder. And so it very much is price inelastic, and if that price does skyrocket, that's really just good for tin miners, and no one is really having to pay more for their technology there. So in that regard, a very unique commodity to be exposed to. And then looking at the current supply, we're looking at a very heavily disrupted field. So China at the moment, obviously one of the big end users, their production of tin hasn't increased. It's actually going down, if anything, and they're becoming more and more reliant on tin imports. And then Indonesia, the second biggest producer, has had a number of permitting issues. PT Timah is the Indonesian-run tin company. They've had a corruption scandal recently. The CFO is facing jail time, last I saw. So there are some issues here in this supply chain, and that's what we're hoping as Sky Metals to come and address. And this is an aerial photo here of the Tullabung Tin project. It's a heavily disturbed area. There was from mining in the 1890s right up to the 1980s, culminating in a large-scale alluvial mining in the 1960s and 70s. And that's what you can see there with the large open pit, the old tailings dam and things. But importantly, this leaves a number of shortcuts for Sky Metals to get this project back into production. So we have power lines to site, road access in, and an old water pipeline down to the Lockham River, and these sorts of things that present good shortcuts for us to plug into and get the project back into production quickly. And we've been exploring the underlying hard rock tin here that sits underneath the old alluvial workings that you can see, and that's largely intact, and to date we haven't found the edges of this system, so a very, very large tin system. And in fact, most recently we actually drilled a hole right off the edge of the old workings, about 300 metres or so past any of the historic workings, and we hit 11 metres at over 1% tin. For people unfamiliar with tin in terms of value, tin's worth about 3 times as much as copper, so 1% tin is equivalent to about 3% copper, or about 4 grams per tonne gold in value. So you're looking at a very shallow, high-grade hit here, right on the margins of what we've drilled so far. So we've got an existing bulk tonnage resource, but we may be yet to find the best parts of this system, and there's an exciting evolving story here for some high-grade discoveries. So at the moment, our results are pending for this work, and we're expecting those in the next week or two. So it's an exciting time for Sky Metals as we're finding extensions to this deposit and building on what we've developed already. And key to this project is, although it's existing as a low-grade deposit, we think it's a high-margin production opportunity because there's a lot of low-cost processes available to us. First and foremost, we have a shallow deposit, so it starts from surface, it's shallow dipping. All of these things mean that it's an excellent deposit for open pit mining with low strip ratios. So cheap mining is available to us there. And then on top of that, we have this technology piece that's really transformed the project, and that's an exceptional upgrade from ore sorting technology, which in tin has become a very established processing technique and is ideally suited for the deposit that we have at Tullabung. On top of that, the downstream processing is just a simple gravity circuit, very similar to what they would have been using in the 1890s even, and that's just a series of spirals and tables, very cheap to run, just water to use those, and then we get a very high payability concentrate at the end of that process. We're seeing over 95% payability on those tin concentrates, so we have a very cheap process here to make a very high value target. This is a drone photo now looking across north of the deposit, and in the sort of yellow colour there is the outline of the existing open pit. That red outline there is the current extent of our resource. So although we're finding extensions to the south beyond the historic workings, a lot of the historic workings to the north, we haven't even had enough drilling in underneath to include in our resource yet. So incredible opportunity here to build on already a large bulk tonnage resource that we're developing. Resource as it is 15.6 million tonnes at 0.15% tin, and that doesn't include any of our drilling that we've completed this year, and we've completed a couple of RC programs and diamond drilling programs, so plenty of scope there to expand that. And then the key thing is that the TOMRA ore sorting, working on this deposit, can take that 0.15% tin head grade and increase it to over 0.7% tin. And again, that's equivalent to sort of 2.5 grams per tonne gold at least, and over 2% copper in terms of value. So you're taking a low-grade project, upgrading it substantially into very high-grade feed to then go into your plant, and that's where you spend a majority of your money getting it into a concentrate. And really the key for the TOMRA working so efficiently on this project is the nature of the mineralisation at Tullabung. We have very, very coarse cassiterite tin. Cassiterite is a tin oxide mineral, very simple, and it's the black grains that you can see in that picture there. Those chunky nuggets of tin that you can see in the picture, they've got a density of about 7 tonnes per cubic metre. The rest of the rock and the quartz vein around it, that's got a density of about 2.7 tonnes per cubic metre. So there's a huge contrast between the tin and the rock around it. And the ore sorter has rock fed in through a conveyor belt. There's an X-ray system, much like the baggage handler at the airport. It scans the rock as it goes through. The dense tin material stops more of the X-rays. That gets imaged by the computer, and it can tell exactly when that rock's going to pass over a bank of air jets. And when that rock does, and it's got tin in it, because we can see with the density, the air jet fires it off. They're now installing 10 of these into Pilbara Minerals. So ore sorting is now becoming a very ubiquitous technology in mining as it's becoming more reliable. And certainly in tin, Australia's largest tin mine in Renison has 3 ore sorters that have been running 24/7 for 6 years there. They're getting very good availability on those, much better than the rest of the plant actually. and it's made a big increase to what Renison can do in terms of mining rates. So in the tin world, this is a very proven technology, and we're just very, very fortunate to have an incredibly well-suited and matched deposit that works very well with this process. And it means that we get that grade increase. We get also a very big mass reduction in what we have to process. So we get an 80% mass reduction, which means that the potential CapEx and OpEx of downstream processing, so a much smaller plant, a plant that's 20% the size we'd normally have to build, and an OpEx of 20% for that downstream processing. So significantly reduces those costs and really puts us into a high margin territory. Just a quick video here of some of the ore coming through. That's some of the Tullabung ore going through a Tomra ore sorter. It drops off here onto the conveyor belt, it runs underneath, gets scanned by the X-rays, and then the rocks with tin are popped over that divider plate there, and on the far right-hand side is the air jets, and then on the left-hand side is the waste running out, on the right-hand side is the ore. So a very simple process to see a big reduction in how much material we have to spend money on processing. Additional to all of these advantages, we also have some higher grade areas in the deposit. It's important that we continue to define these. They're going to be very important for our first year or two of production to get some high grade material in, pay off that CapEx very, very quickly, and then come into mining some of the lower grade areas that can be significantly upgraded with the ore sorter. You can see here some really good grades through this particular area, and if you imagine a pit shell around this, you can see yourself mining very little waste to get at this material, and so showing very little strip ratio and higher grades as well to pay off that CapEx quickly. Our pathway forward for now, we've defined a bulk tonnage resource. Obviously we're increasing that as we go. Our metallurgical test work is very well advanced. That's a key part to us, and we have paid a lot of attention to de-risking that side of the project and getting it to a point where we're very comfortable in what an excellent opportunity we have for low-cost processing at Tullabung. Then our next step there is to also now infill this MRE, increase our confidence in the resource, and continue to build on these high-grade discoveries. As I said, they're going to be very important for paying off our CapEx very, very quickly. Concurrently with this, we've also constructed groundwater monitoring bores. We're starting our background environmental studies, ecology studies, these sorts of things, all to really fast-track that permitting process so that as we move through, we are, as quickly as possible, getting through mining studies, building on what we have already, and then getting ourselves to feasibility to mining commencement. So fast-tracking ourselves with a very low-risk pathway set to quickly add value here. Thank you very much for your time today, and if there's any more questions, our booth is pretty much straight through there. Please feel free to come over and say hi. Thank you.